10,000 words per minute. That's an entire textbook chapter in less than 60 seconds. I want you to imagine for a moment what that kind of speed reading ability could do for you, especially during exam season. Millions of people have paid for programs promising exactly that, and many of them swear that it changed their lives. But when researchers actually brought these speed readers into the lab and tested them, what they found was strange, because the speed readers were confident. They felt like they understood everything, but their comprehension told a completely different story, and this raised a question that puzzled scientists for years. Why does speed reading feel so effective when the data says that it isn't? Today we're going to look at what's actually happening in your brain when you try to read faster. The hard limits that no technique can overcome, the psychological trick that makes you think it's working, and what the research says you should do instead. Let's start with the biophysics, because when you read, your eyes don't glide smoothly across the page. They jump around in quick movements called saccades, and then they pause to take in a few words at a time. Each of these pauses, which are called fixations, last about a quarter of a second. And here is the really important part. You can only see about 7 to 9 letters clearly at any moment. Everything in your peripheral vision is too blurry to actually read. This isn't a training problem, it's human anatomy. Your fovea, the high-resolution center of your retina, is physically small. No amount of practice is going to make it magically get bigger. Research shows that these physical limitations cap normal reading speed at 300 words per minute. The thing is, eye movements only account for about 10% of your reading time. The other 90% is your brain processing what the words actually mean. And that's the bottleneck no technique can bypass. Now, speed reading advocates are going to say, well, I feel like I'm understanding everything, and I completely understand where they're coming from. I practiced speed reading for a couple years. I mean, it was a ways back, but I put in a lot of effort to get better at speed reading, so I completely understand what they're saying here. The thing is, the research tells a completely different story. In one study, researchers asked self-proclaimed speed readers to read passages and then answer comprehension questions. They scored 68%, which is not bad, except the control group, which are people who had never read the passage at all, just guessed the answers and scored 57%. The speed readers were barely better than chance. They understood the gist of it for the most part, but nothing specific. In another brilliant experiment, researchers gave speed readers a text where alternate lines came from 2 completely different articles. The content was nonsense. They were just sentences from unrelated topics, just kind of like thrown together. The speed readers didn't even notice. They were summarizing a main idea that didn't even exist. They weren't reading, really. They were just extracting impressions from the text. And this is what decades of research has shown to be true, is that when speed reading rates increase, your comprehension just drops, and there's absolutely no technique that's going to fix this. But it just makes you wonder then, why do you feel like a superhero? Well, it's from what cognitive scientists call the fluency illusion. The faster and more easily that information flows past you, the more confident you're going to feel that you actually learned it, right? Speed creates a sensation of competence. That's not how learning actually works, right? Real learning takes time and effort, right? You have to go slow and struggle through the process. If you're breezing through it, there's almost a guarantee that you're really not learning anything at all. See, this is one of the cruelest tricks of speed reading, is that you finish a book in an hour, you feel really good about it, and then a week later, you remember almost nothing. And you might be wondering, well, what about the techniques then? Like, are they doing anything at all? Is this just like hypnosis? What kind of witchcraft is happening here? Well, you have to understand that most speed reading programs are built around 3 core promises. The first one is that you want to eliminate your inner voice. You know, that voice in your head that pronounces words as you read? Well, speed reading says it slows you down, so you want to suppress it, and then you're just going to read faster. The problem is that that inner voice, which is really called subvocalization, is how your brain processes language. Brain imaging even shows that when people try to suppress it, the brain's language and speech areas still activate. You can quiet the voice, but you cannot bypass this process. And when people try to eliminate it entirely, their comprehension just collapses. The second promise is that you can train yourself to see more words at once. You can read whole lines or even paragraphs in a single glance, which is just not possible, right? We already covered this, right? The fovea in the eye. This is an anatomical limitation. You cannot get around this. And there have been eye tracking studies that have looked at speed readers, and they still see the speed readers having multiple fixations per line, which means that they're not really reading more as much as they're just skipping more words. The third promise says that if you do not regress, meaning that you don't go back and reread a word or sentence, well, then your comprehension is going to go through the roof. But the thing is, regressions are essential. About 10 to 15% of reading is just backward glances. And this is because sometimes you might have misunderstood a word, right? Or maybe it's ambiguous, or you're just kind of like trying to like interpret its meaning. And so that backward glance resolves the confusion. So if you just eliminate that altogether, there's just gaps in your understanding and you're just breezing through it just for the sake of speed. Okay, so those core techniques and promises don't hold up, but there are strategies that do help. They're just not what the speed reading courses are selling. The most reliable way to read faster with better comprehension is to simply practice reading. I know that's not a satisfying answer, but I want you to hear me out. The more you read, right, the more you read widely, the more vocabulary you're going to be exposed to. You're going to see the same words over and over, the new different words, and you're just going to get an understanding of how the words fit together. And the more that happens, your comprehension is just going to start to rise. This is a very natural process. There's a reason why people who read a lot can read pretty fast. It's not because they're inherently special, it's just they're well practiced at actually seeing and processing those words efficiently. The research calls this old-fashioned practice, and it's the only method that produces genuine, long-lasting improvement in reading speed. One study found that trained speed readers only improved by about 35 words per minute compared to untrained readers. And then with practice, over time, that'll just compound. But there's a second strategy that matters even more for students. You want to match your speed to your purpose. Effective readers do not read everything the same way. They skim when skimming is appropriate. They'll preview a chapter, they'll scan for specific information, review material they already know, but they slow down for new concepts, complex arguments, or anything they need to actually retain. This is what speed reading programs are teaching accidentally. It's skimming, except they don't package it that way, right? They present it as though it's this really novel concept that's going to supercharge everything. The thing is, though, it is a valuable skill, right? You want to be able to skim things. You just can't use it as a replacement for reading. And so, like, if you want to read some really technical stuff, let's say like anatomy, or it could be engineering, doesn't really matter, anything. Skimming is so important because what you want to do is you open up to a page and you're going to look at something and you're just going to quickly skim it. Like, what am I looking at here? I'm going to be looking for the most important things pertaining to the question I have in my mind, right? I want to identify the things that are going to be highly valuable. And then you start to take a more slow approach to it and try to resolve any confusion that you had when you're like going to read in the first place, right? So skimming is extremely efficient. It's something I do all the time, especially when I'm reading nonfiction or any kind of like technical text. I'm not gonna sit there and read the whole thing. Are you kidding me? That makes no sense. I can't tell you how many books that I have read that are not really books I've read cover to cover. Right? Like, I think there's this thought that we have to read everything in order to extract all the value, and that's just not true. You are perfectly fine to skim as long as it matches your original intent. But there's another thing that the research shows people overlook, and that is attention. Distractions, your mind is wandering, you're rereading because you weren't focused. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're reading something, you're about like 5 pages in, and then you just have this moment where you're like, I don't know what I just read, right? Like, I mean, half the time I'm sitting here, my phone's at the corner of my eye, and I'm reading, I'm trying to focus, and I'm just looking at it. This is the problem. It's not that you are a bad reader, you're just a distracted reader. So the simplest way to read faster really isn't a technique, it's to eliminate distractions. What you want to do is read in focus blocks. Just set aside some time and go, okay, I'm going to read during this time. And that's when you're going to identify what you want to be reading, right? You're going to do a preview, you're going to skim over it, and then you're going to summarize what you read when you're done, right? These are active reading strategies that are meant to ensure you are comprehending what you are reading. And again, the irony here is that when you stop chasing speed and start focusing on comprehension, your reading speed naturally goes higher. And that's because, again, you're building the vocabulary, the pattern recognition, and just the background knowledge that makes future reading easier. So if we go back to the original question we had, why does this speed reading fantasy exist? Well, it's because of the fluency illusion. We feel like there's a shortcut here. We feel like something real is happening, but we just don't understand what we're missing because there's a false confidence that comes with this. There is no replacement for just doing the hard work, but I can promise you, right? Working within your eye's natural limitations, working within your human anatomy, working within the brain's processing speed is not a bad thing. It's going to naturally increase your speed. You just gotta stop trying to take shortcuts for once in your life. If you want to learn more about speed reading myths and practice, go ahead and check out this 100% free KenHub article down in the description below. It's going to go over the entire history of speed reading, everything that goes wrong with it, as well as some actionable steps you can also take to increase your own reading comprehension. And while you're down there, if you could go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, all that normal YouTube stuff, we would very much appreciate it. But I will see you in the next one.